In 1987, a buggy maker in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, repaired a cracked wagon axle using a green hickory sapling he cut that morning, 2 iron bands forged in his shop, and a wooden wedge driven by hand. The repair took 4 hours. That wagon hauled milk every weekday for the next 29 years. When the axle was finally retired in 2016, the seam he had bound was tighter than the day he made it. His son was standing next to him, watching. That son still does the same repair today, 3 miles from a Walmart where every neighbor for 10 miles buys a new axle when theirs breaks. They did not lose these skills. We did. One culture, one stretch of farmland, one quiet decision made 150 years ago to keep the hands moving and the workshops open. While the rest of America replaced its toolboxes with credit cards, the Amish kept working, kept fixing, kept teaching. Every repair on this list is being done somewhere in Holmes County, Ohio, or Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, today by someone under 30. We are not looking at history. We are looking at a mirror we chose to walk away from. The men in that mirror are still working, still capable, still standing exactly where we left them. Number 22 retrues a wooden wagon wheel in under an hour with a tool you can hold in one hand. Number 16 has kept barn doors hanging without a single replacement part for over a century, the same job now quoted at $400 per door. And number 1, the foundational habit every Amish boy learns before he is given a hammer, is something the rest of America has actively trained itself out of. These 25 secrets are working knowledge, alive in working hands. Hit that subscribe button. Let us count down the 25 forgotten repair secrets the Amish still use every day that the rest of America abandoned decades ago. Number 25, repairing a leather harness with waxed linen thread. You laid the harness flat. You punched 2 rows of holes with a diamond point awl, threaded a needle on each end of a single waxed cord, and pulled the saddle stitch through 1 hole at a time. The wax smelled like beeswax and pine. For a dairy farmer in Holmes County, this was 40 minutes at the bench before breakfast. A man who could not fix his own harness could not feed his family without permission from somebody else. The saddle stitch has been standard across Amish settlements since the 1860s. Not a stitch, a promise the leather kept making to the man who had made it. Number 24, recinching a wooden barrel with iron hoops. You drove the loose hoop downward with a hardwood mallet, striking around the circumference in small steps. The mallet thudded dull against the iron, and the taper of the staves forced the hoop tight. A cooper in Lancaster County recinched 12 barrels in an afternoon for a neighbor's cider operation in 2023. He charged nothing. The neighbor brought him a ham, the kind of economy that does not appear on any ledger. Shops that built barrels for the Pennsylvania whiskey trade in the 1880s still operate today under 4th-generation owners. Not a repair, a conversation between a man and wood that remembered how to hold a shape. Number 23, sharpening a scythe with a whetstone and water. You held the blade against your knee. You stroked a wet whetstone along the edge, heel to tip, alternating sides, 20 passes per side. The steel rang faintly. The edge came up sharp enough to shave hair from your forearm. A young man in Geauga County, Ohio, cuts 3 acres of hay this way every June. He is 26. He considers himself capable in a country full of people who cannot feed themselves without a machine that costs more than his house. The European scythe survived in Amish hands long after American agriculture abandoned it. Not faster, not louder, just enough. and the man holding it knew what enough meant. Number 22. Retruing a wooden wheel with a spoke shave. You spun the wheel against a chalk mark and watched for the wobble. You drove wedges into shrunken spokes and shaped them back to round with a spoke shave. The shavings curled across the bench like ribbon. A wheelwright in Elkhart County, Indiana, retrues 2 wheels a week. The same job, contracted to a restoration specialist in any American city, runs over $600 and takes 3 weeks. Wheelwrighting died in the rest of America by 1925. In Amish country, it never paused, not a repair. A man teaching a circle how to be round again. Number 21. Repointing a stone foundation with lime mortar. You raked the failing joint 1/2 inch deep. You mixed slaked lime with sharp sand until the paste held a thumbprint. The lime burned faintly against the skin. You packed it in and tooled it flush. A mason in Lancaster County repointed an 1840s farmhouse in 2024 using mortar from the same lime pit his great-grandfather drew from. A modern mason quoted the job at $11,000 and recommended tearing the wall down. Portland cement traps moisture and shatters old stone. Lime breathes. He did not fix the wall. He kept a promise his great-grandfather had made to it. Number 20. Reseating a loose door latch with a hand-forged staple. You heated 1/4-inch round stock cherry red in a coal forge. The shop smelled like burnt iron and pine smoke. You bent it into a U, sharpened the points, and drove it into the door frame. A blacksmith in Lancaster County forged 72 such staples in a single winter for neighbors' barn doors. The cost was a covered dish brought on delivery day. For an Amish blacksmith, the forge is the room where the neighborhood comes to keep functioning. Factory hinges are considered inferior, not for religious reasons, but because they fail. Hand-forged ones do not a latch. A handshake between 2 men set in iron. Number 19. Splicing a broken plow trace with rawhide. You softened a rawhide strip in warm water. You drilled a hole through each broken end and threaded the rawhide through, locking it with a tapered wooden peg. As the rawhide dried, it shrank. The splice became harder than the original leather. A farmer in northern Indiana spliced a trace this way mid-morning during spring plowing 2024. He lost no working time. An unfinished field was the difference between a paid mortgage and an unpaid one. The rawhide and peg splice arrived with German immigrants in the 1720s and never left Amish knowledge. Not a fix, a refusal to stop pulling. Number 18. Patching a wooden silo stave with a Dutchman joint. You cut the rotten section out in a clean diamond. You cut a matching diamond of identical wood, slightly oversized, drove it in with hide glue, and locked it with 2 wooden pegs. A silo builder in Holmes County repaired a silo built in 1912 this way in 2023. The boy handing him the chisels was 9 and had been watching since he could stand. He will be doing it himself in 10 years, teaching it in 20. The Dutchman joint comes from German carpentry preserved in Amish woodworking. Modern construction replaces the whole stave. He did not patch the silo. He continued it. Pattern break. The hands that never stopped. There is a workshop right now in Lancaster County. A 32-year-old man is teaching his 8-year-old son to shape a wooden wheel hub on a foot-powered lathe. The lathe was built in 1898. The technique is older than the lathe. The boy will be doing this work in 40 years because his father is standing next to him this morning, the way his grandfather stood next to his father. That chain has not broken. Not through 2 world wars, not through the collapse of American manual trades. While the rest of the country was losing the ability to fix a leaking faucet, 600,000 Amish kept every repair skill this continent ever knew alive in working hands. They kept it. We let it go. You mixed whiting powder with raw linseed oil on a stone slab. The oil smelled like wet flax. You worked it into a smooth dough, pressed it into the sash at a 45-degree angle, and tooled it flat with a wet blade. A glazier in Holmes County reglazes every window in a one-room Amish schoolhouse every summer. He has done this for 19 years. A modern glazier would quote the school over $1,200 and tell them the windows should be replaced. Silicone caulk replaced linseed putty in the 1960s. Silicone fails in 15 years. Linseed putty lasts 80 years. Not a window. A schoolhouse kept warm by a man who would never charge it. Number 16. Hanging a barn door on hand-forged strap hinges. You forged 2 iron straps with rolled eyes. The hinges weighed 8 pounds each, heavy enough to feel serious in the hand. You bolted them to the door and dropped the eyes over fixed pintles. A barn raising in Lancaster County hung 4 such doors in a single day in 2024. Nobody held a license. Everyone there knew what to do because everyone there had been taught. A modern equivalent would have charged that barn over $4,000. Strap hinges have hung Amish barn doors since the 1720s. The design has not changed because it did not need to. Not a hinge. A community's signature stamped in iron. Number 15. Repairing a cracked iron pot with a stove bolt. You drilled a small hole at each end of the crack to stop it traveling. You cleaned the surfaces until the metal shone gray. You ran a bead of gasket cement along the seam and drew it tight with a stove bolt. An Amish housewife in Indiana fixed a cracked Dutch oven this way in 2023. The pot was her grandmother's. Replacing it would have been a kind of forgetting she refused to commit. Cast iron repair was standard kitchen knowledge in rural America until the 1950s. Amish kitchens never received the message that broken iron was waste, not a pot. A grandmother's hand still resting on the stove. You cut a new sole from saddle-grade leather. You drove tapered maple pegs through the upper at quarter-inch intervals. The maples smelled clean. As the pegs absorbed moisture from the foot, they swelled and locked permanently. A shoemaker in Lancaster County resoles 10 pairs of boots a week. The men bringing him those boots could afford new ones. They simply do not believe a man should throw away a boot that still has work left in it. Wooden peg construction was the American standard from 1820 to 1900. Not new, not old, still useful, the only category that mattered to the man wearing them. Number 13, tuning a hand-cranked grain mill. You disassembled the millstones. You filed the dressed grooves clean of grain dust. The dust smelled like fresh bread already. You reset the gap with a folded paper feeler, 1 sheet of newspaper thick. A miller in Holmes County tunes his hand mill every Saturday morning. He grinds wheat for 16 families. He considers his work the simple fact of being useful in a place where uselessness is the only real poverty. Hand mill dressing was a specialized trade until steam-powered roller mills replaced it in the 1880s. Not flour. 16 kitchens waking up to bread because one man chose not to stop. Number 12. Repairing a broken buggy shaft with iron sleeve and rivets. You cut the broken shaft square. You forged a 4-inch iron sleeve to slip fit over both ends. You drove 4 iron rivets through and peened them flat with a ball peen hammer. A buggy maker in Lancaster County does 6 such repairs every winter. A family without a buggy cannot get to church, market, or a doctor. He has never sent a family home unrepaired. That is not a business model. That is an obligation learned from a father who never explained it. A buggy is a $5,000 to $7,000 investment designed to be repaired for 50 years, not a shaft. A family's Sunday morning, made possible again before sundown. You bedded a strip of burlap in warm pine tar and brushed another coat across the top. The tar smelled of sap and smoke. It cured in the air. A roofer in Elkhart County sealed an 1880s farmhouse roof this way in 2023. The previous patch, done by his grandfather, had lasted since 1962. The work cost $40. A modern roofing company would have quoted $3,000 and recommended full replacement. Pine tar and burlap is one of the oldest roofing repairs in continuous American use, not a patch. A grandfather's afternoon, repeated by hand, exactly where it was left. You disassembled the machine, a Singer from the 1920s, a foot-powered cast-iron frame heavy enough to make a man stop and consider lifting it. You cleaned every part in kerosene, filed worn cams back to true, and retensioned the leather drive belt. A repairman in Lancaster County maintains 200 treadle machines in his church district. Each belongs to a woman who has stitched clothes for her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren on the same machine. To her, that machine is a witness. Singer's treadle production ended in the 1950s. The machines never wore out because no Amish woman ever asked them to. Not a machine. 3 generations of clothing, stitched by the same iron heart. Pattern break. Why the rest of America cannot do this anymore. In 1925, General Motors under Alfred Sloan adopted a strategy called dynamic obsolescence. Change product styling every year. Make older models feel outdated, even when they work. The strategy spread from automobiles to appliances, from appliances to furniture, from furniture to tools. By 1970, the average American household replaced, rather than repaired, 70% of what broke. By 2020, that figure had risen above 90%. The Amish were never part of that economy, not because they rejected technology, because they rejected the premise. The old assumption produced everything on this list. The new one produced a country full of people who cannot fix a running toilet without making a phone call. Number 9. Sharpening an axe with a hand-cranked grindstone. You set the stone spinning. You held the head at the original bevel and walked the edge across the stone, heel to tip, 20 seconds per side. Water dripped from the trough below. A woodcutter in Geauga County sharpens his axe twice a day during firewood season. He is 58. He has cut 400 cords in his lifetime with the same axe head. A man his age in the rest of America has replaced 3 chainsaws and burned no firewood at all. Crank grindstones were standard farm equipment until power grinders replaced them in the 1940s. Not faster, not louder, still cutting long after every chainsaw he never bought has been thrown away. Number 8. Recanvassing a buggy seat with horsehair and burlap. You laid burlap over the seat frame and tacked it down with copper tacks that smelled like a penny in the mouth. You teased horsehair into a thick mat and stitched the layers with a curved needle. A harness shop in Lancaster County recanvasses 40 seats a year using horsehair from the same horses that pull the buggies. When a horse is retired, its hair cushions the next generation that rides behind its replacement. Nothing is wasted. Foam replaced horsehair commercially around 1920. Foam degrades in 12 years. Horsehair lasts 50 years, not a seat. A horse, still working, long after he stopped pulling. You replaced the cotton wick, trimmed flat across the top, not curved. The kerosene smelled the way lamplight smells. You cut a new cork gasket, filled, lit, and adjusted the flame to a smokeless point. An Amish grandmother in Indiana maintains 17 lamps. She has done this every spring and fall since 1971. She considers it the thing that has lit her grandchildren's faces at supper for 40 years, and she would no sooner stop than stop setting the table. Aladdin Mantle Lamp Company still produces lamps virtually identical to its 1908 design. Not light. The same yellow glow falling across the same table. Number 6. Repairing a clock with a steady hand and a fine screwdriver. You opened the case of a 30-day kitchen clock. The pendulum ticked once and went silent. You found the worn pivot, polished it with crocus cloth, and oiled it with a drop applied with a sewing needle. A clock repairman in Lancaster County services 80 mechanical clocks a year. The families bringing them are paying to keep their kitchens sounding the way their grandmother's kitchen sounded. A modern quartz clock costs $9 and makes no sound at all. American mechanical clockmaking effectively ended in the 1960s. The clocks themselves did not. Not time, the sound of time, the steady ticking that told a family it was still home. Number 5. Patching a cracked stoneware crock with milk curd cement. You warmed fresh milk until the curd separated from the whey. The kitchen smelled faintly sour. You strained the curds, mixed them with quicklime, and pressed the paste into the crack. The casein bonded to the clay. A cheesemaker in Holmes County patched a 15-gallon crock this way in 2024. It had been in her family since 1899. Her great-grandmother used it. Her great-granddaughter will use it. 5 generations of cabbage will have fermented in that vessel by the time the patch fails. Casein. Cement arrived with Pennsylvania German communities in the 18th century. Not a crock. A family's appetite, fermented in the same clay for 120 years. Number 4. Rebinding a leather book with linen thread and hide glue. You stitched the broken signatures back together on a sewing frame. The thread smelled faintly waxed. You glued the spine with warm hide glue, attached new headbands, and pressed under weight for a full day. A bookbinder in Lancaster County rebinds family Bibles printed before 1850 on a treadle press built in 1887. Every book has been opened by hands he will never meet, hands now in graves, hands too young yet to hold it. He is not preserving paper. He is preserving the unbroken line of voices that have read aloud from those pages. Hand bookbinding continues because Amish religious literature is meant to last generations, not a book. A grandfather's voice, kept in covers, available to be opened again. Number 3. Sealing a wooden water trough with beeswax and pine tar. You let the wood dry in the sun for 2 days. The oak smelled like honey when the wax went on. You warmed beeswax and pine tar over a small fire and brushed it into every seam. A farmer in Elkhart County seals his cattle troughs this way every spring. Some are 70 years old. His father seasoned them, and his son helps him now. The cattle drinking from them are descendants of cattle his grandfather raised. Nothing on that farm is new. Beeswax and pine tar are the same materials American shipwrights used to seal hulls in the 18th century. Not a trough. 70 years of thirsty cattle served by the same hollow piece of oak. Number 2. Rebuilding a hand pump with new leather valves. You replaced the worn flapper valves, cut from harness leather, soaked in neat's foot oil, and fitted to the valve seat. You greased the cylinder with food-grade tallow. The handle moved easily again. A pump maintainer in Holmes County services 30 cistern pumps. Each is between 40 and 120 years old. None has been replaced. The women pumping water every morning are not pioneers. They are drinking water the way their grandmothers drank it, by deciding with their own hands to bring it up. Indoor plumbing erased the cistern pump everywhere, except Amish country. Not water. A decision made every morning by hands that still know what to do. Number 1, letting the boy stand at the bench and watch. Before any tool is touched, before any material is gathered. The Amish father, uncle, or grandfather brings the boy to the bench, sets him on a stool, and lets him watch. No instruction, no lecture, just the work, done slowly in front of him. The boy learns by watching for 2 years before he is handed a tool. By the time he holds the hammer, the motion is already in his hands. He has seen it 500 times. He cannot do it wrong. This is the precondition for every other skill on this list. The rest of America stopped doing this around 1965. We replaced the stool with a screen, the watching with an app, the father with a tutorial. 1 generation later, we cannot fix a leaking faucet. The Amish never replaced any of it. The stool is still there. The boy is still on it. The father is still at the vise. Not a method. A choice made every day by people who never decided their children were too busy to learn. None of these repairs require a school. None require a permit. They require something the rest of America stopped maintaining in the second half of the 20th century, a continuous chain of hands willing to stand next to other hands. The Amish did not preserve these skills out of nostalgia. They simply never stopped. The workshop stayed open. The bench stayed warm. The boy stayed on the stool. Every Tuesday morning, somewhere in Lancaster County or Holmes County, a man under 40 is fixing something the way his great-grandfather fixed it. 3 hours away, the same broken thing waits in a garage for a phone call that will cost $600. The knowledge did not vanish. It moved 1 county over. It is still there this morning, in working hands, waiting for somebody willing to come and watch. The hardest part is not learning the work. The hardest part is admitting we walked away from it. The second hardest part is walking back.